Hey guys, so today's video is going to be a video that I've been wanting to film for quite a while because I actually think that these videos are so much fun to watch and film, and I'm not a person that is in the middle of that many series. So right now this video is going to be a reading vlog of continuing series that I'm in the middle of. Now, some of these series I actually haven't even started yet, and some of them I have, but the ones that I haven't started yet are actually going to be read probably this week, most likely, because they are on my monthly TBR, or they are going to be read in April. So this vlog might be continuing on for quite a bit. So let's just go ahead and talk about the series that I am actually currently in the middle of, and then we'll talk about the other two that I'm going to be reading in April. Actually, three, because most of these are going to be read in April. It's only the last book in this stack is going to be read this month, and also a Kindle read. So the first book that I'm very excited for, and I cannot wait to continue this series, is A Demon's Guide to Wooing a Witch by Sarah Hawley. As you guys know, I had finally read the first book in March, and it was the first book that I read in March, and I absolutely loved it. And like I've also said, that this series has probably been sitting on my TBR the longest besides Red Queen. I still haven't read that either. But I felt like, this was a really good, fun, fluffy romance series to start in the beginning of March going into the spring months. And I absolutely loved the first one, so I literally cannot wait to get to the second one. But this one is going to be read in April. I am fully intending on reading this, I think, right after I read Encantra and Fearless. I want to read this right after that, because then I have Tara Mafi's Watch Me new release after I read this. But I want to read this in between Fearless and Watch Me, and I'm probably going to be able to read another one of these books in between as well, because I'm just going to want like quick palate cleansers in between all of the new releases. So we're definitely reading this in April. And then the next one is Hannah Bonham Young's Next to You. If you guys didn't know, I did read the first one in this duology, romance duology, in March as well. It was one of the first books that I read in March as well. I didn't really love it, but I do really love Hannah Bonham Young's writing. But I do prefer her Out on a Limb series as opposed to this one. But I do own this, so I do really want to get to this. I wasn't sure if I was going to fit this in as a quick palate cleanser this month, but honestly, it's a bit longer than the first one. It's like 350 pages, so I don't think I'm going to have time to fit it in, because I really did want to stick to the rest of my TBR for this month before the month was over, because I have quite a few series that I want to read, and I'm pretty much only going to be reading series the rest of March. But I do want to get to this in April as well. And then after I read this, I will pretty much have read all of Hannah Bonham Young's books besides her Christmas novella, which I'm not really even going to read that until December, but then I will have pretty much read her entire backlist, and then she has a new release in May, so I will have already read all of her books by that point. So that's pretty good that I'll be finished with this series in April. Okay, and then next up, I'm actually going backwards with this series because the author says you can read this series in any order that you want, and honestly, I don't think it affected my reading experience at all, because she said you can read them as complete standalones or in whatever order you want to read them in. So I actually started with the last book in this series, which was Beg, Borrow, or Steal by Sarah Adams, and it was my first ever Sarah Adams book, and I really, really liked it. So I really wanted to continue her When in Rome series, so I am going to be reading the first book in this video, which is called When in Rome by Sarah Adams. I'm really excited to get to this one. This is like under 300 pages, I think, or maybe it's exactly like 300 pages, but I think that this is just going to be such a fun, fluffy little romance read in April. And like I said, I want a lot of those in between like all the new releases. So I'm really excited to get to this one. I still have the sticker on it because I think this was like the last book that I picked up recently at Target. I think this was the most current one that I picked up. And I was fully intending on reading it earlier this month, but also, other books took priority that I was already owning for a while, like A Demon Witch's Guide and the first Next of Kin book. So that's why I ended up reading those over that. But I do really want to read the trilogy. I actually don't own the second book, which is called Practice Makes Perfect. I actually put it on as a hold from Libby. And by the time I read When in Rome, I think the hold will be ready. That's actually the book I'm going to be waiting for the longest from my Libby holds, which is funny because, you know, the series has been out for like a hot second, but it still like won't be available till after, it's not even going to be available, I think, for another like 4 weeks or something. So by the time I read When in Rome, it actually ends up working out perfectly because then my hold should come through and then I should be ready to read it by that time. I just don't know where you look up your holds. Oh, they're right here. I think it says 2 weeks. So by that point, I should be ready to read the book. So I'm not really that worried about it. Okay, and then next up, I am definitely going to be reading this series in April, but I think I'm going to spread it out a little bit because I don't think I'm going to binge it unless I really love the first book, but I'm going to be reading Done and Dusted in April, so the second book in the series is called Swift and Saddled by Lila Sage, so I also am going to be reading this as well. Also, the fourth book does come out in April as well, and again, these are just going to be such quick palate cleansers in between, you know, again, all the new releases, because these books are all under like 300 pages and everybody talks about how good they are. And like I also said, I have never read any cowboy romances and I really do want to read cowboy romance. I don't know why I haven't gotten to it, but I really wanted this to be like my first cowboy romance books / series. So I'm very excited to read this one. And then the fourth book is Wild and Wrangled, and that comes out, I believe, in the middle of April. I'm not sure what date, but it does come out then. But I'm not sure if I'm going to read all of them in April, but I at least want to read the first 2 books. And then the last one that I own physically that I'm definitely going to be reading this duology very soon. I'm probably going to be reading it within the next couple of days because I think I'm just going to read it because I've been pushing this off for like a couple of months at this point. So I think I'm just going to jump right into this duology as soon as I'm done with the series that I'm reading right now. I only have the 3rd book and then I'll be done with the series. I'm not including that book in this video or being in the middle of that series because I'm vlogging that completely separately from this video. So the last one that I own physically is the second book in the House of the Cerulean Sea duology, which is TJ Klune's Somewhere Beyond the Sea. And this one is probably the one I'm the most excited for because I absolutely adore TJ Klune's writing, but I've only been able to read one of his books so far, which is Under the Whispering Door. I absolutely loved that book. That's a 6-star read for me that I have been dying to get to more of his books. So I really do want to read the House of the Cerulean Sea duology. It's also House of the Cerulean Sea is also on my 25 books in 2025, so I'm definitely going to be reading this duology next week, and I'm very excited for it. So that's going to be the only one that I'm reading, like, at the, like, 3rd week of March. The rest of these, I'm going to read all of them in April, but you guys won't know that until I get to them. And then the 2 Kindle reads that I have, the only one that's on Kindle Unlimited, well, both of them are on Kindle Unlimited, but I read the first book in the Beartown trilogy by Frederick Bachman back in February. It was the first book that I read in February, but for some reason I've been putting off the 2nd and 3rd books because that book, it's still one of my favorite books that I've read in February and March. That book was just amazing. I haven't really found like a book that I've fallen in love with this month. I haven't really found like my favorite book that I read this month so far. Pretty much my favorite book I read this month so far, which was A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon. I freaking loved that book. I gave it a 5-star and that was my first 5-star of the month. So I thought since I gave a 5-star like literally after I read the first book of the month, I thought I was going to have a better reading month than I did because usually I don't find a 5-star immediately, like as soon as the month starts. But in January and February, I hadn't found 5-star reads until like the 2nd or 3rd weeks of the months. So I think this is going to be amazing though, and I'm gonna love this series. I've just been putting it off, but I think I'm just gonna go right into this right after I finish House of the Cerulean Sea. And that is the second book in the Frederick Bachman series. I mean, in the Beartown series by Frederick Bachman, and that is Us Against You. So I really do want to read this book as well. I also want to read this book before the winter is over, but literally we have a week of winter left. And honestly, it's not really that cold anymore. It's been beautiful out lately. It hasn't been like too warm, but it's been like 55 to 60 degrees. So I don't know if this is the perfect time to read it, but I really do want to read it before April. So, and I absolutely loved the first book so much, but it is a hard read. So I think that's why I've been avoiding it. But once I do pick up his books are fantastic. So I really, really want to finish the trilogy. And then the last book I'm going to put in this video. I'm not sure when I'm going to get to this book, but it is A Hold from Libby. So I feel like I want to get to it very soon because I only have like 11 days left. But I can always renew it and see when I want to read it, like later in the month if I'm able to get to it still. And if you guys didn't know, I've been reading this series gradually throughout the last couple of months because I feel like I don't have to read it like back to back to back, but it is fun for like a cozy murder mystery. So the last book I'm hopefully going to get to in this video, or I'm going to include it anyway whenever I'm ready to read it, is Richard Osman's The Bullet That Missed, and this is the third book in the Thursday Murder Club series. So I've read the first two books. So now I only have two books left because the fifth book does come out in September, so I will have read the fourth book by that point. I don't know when I'm going to read it, but probably maybe June or something because I don't really have to rush with these books. And also, I don't know why I just didn't borrow these from the library to begin with because I thought that the first book was so much better than the second book that I actually ended up I want to give away the second book. So I felt that I did not need to pick up the third book physically. I was like, I'm just going to borrow it from the library. So hopefully I will be able to get to it sooner rather than later. I kind of wanted to get to it by the end of this week. But at the same time, I also have an ARC read that I need to read. And also I really wanted to read Stephen King's Billy Summers. So we're going to be juggling a few books before the 26th because I am dying to read the Hunger Games series finally, and I want to fit in at least 5 or 6 books before that. And I'm in the middle of finishing the This Woven Kingdom series, and I'm not really loving it. So I think that's why I wanted to pick up TJ Klune's books after this because TJ Klune is like a trusty author for me. But also, I really want to read the TJ Klune books and the Frederick Bachman books this week because then I will have read 3 books from each author, and I'm dying to read more books from them. So, because the first 2 books that I read from both authors were both 5-star, 6-star reads for me. So, yeah, that's it for now. So, I will check in with you guys when we start Somewhere Beyond the Sea. So, bye. So, hey guys, I wanted to let you guys know that I started TJ Klune's Somewhere Beyond the Sea, which is the second book in the House of the Cerulean Sea Chronicles. I think that's what it's called. Or it's called the Cerulean Chronicles. I'm not going to make too many check-ins in this video because I don't want this video to be 5 million years long. Yeah, it's called the Cerulean Chronicles. But also because I'm going to be filming this video over a month's time. So what I might do is just break it up into 2 parts because I'm reading I think 6 books in this video. So I don't think I'm going to include all of them. I just wanted to tell you guys which books were possibly going to be read. I knew that this book was going to be read and also Us Against You by Frederick Bachman because those are the 2 that are on my TBR that would be in this video. But then I wasn't going to pick up another one until April because I don't have time to read more than that. So anyway, I picked this up today. I finished House of the Cerulean Sea in a day and a half. Not even. Like I read almost 100 pages yesterday physically, and then I just listened to the audiobook for the rest of it, and I think I just finished it all via audiobook because I was getting ready to see one of my friends, and I was listening to it the whole time I was getting ready, and then I also listened to it on the drive to her and on the way back. And then I only had like maybe 2 chapters or so to finish. Even though the chapters are a little long, I ended up listening to them while I was getting ready for bed, and then I just had the epilogue left. And then I finished it and I absolutely loved it. So I knew I wanted to go into the second book right away. And what's crazy is that this book just came out like 6 months ago. It came out in September of 2024. And the thing is that there was no sequel for like 4 years because the first book, House of the Cerulean Sea, came out March 17th of 2020. So I finished it on its release day exactly 4 years ago. Actually, it was basically 5 years ago, but I didn't realize I finished it on St. Patrick's Day, literally the day that it came out in 2020, and I did not realize that it came out then. Well, I looked up the release date to see like how long it was for a sequel for this book, and it was like 5 years. There probably wasn't supposed to be a sequel to it, but I think because House of the Cerulean Sea, I think, is TJ Klune's most popular book, that, there was probably such a demand for it that people were asking for a sequel. And sometimes that's not always like, or like the publisher's approach. Yeah, it's definitely his most popular book. It has like 800,000 likes, 800,000 ratings on Goodreads. This one has like 100,000, I believe. Yeah. So, and Under the Whispering Door is his second most popular. So I've actually read, those are the two TJ Klune's books that I've read, and then this is the third most popular. So I guess I started in a good place, but I had no idea that it came out literally 5 years ago on St. Patrick's Day. So like yesterday was the 5th anniversary of that book being out, and I had no idea. How did that work out that way? That is so weird. I just can't get over it. Like, what the luck of the Irish, I guess. But I didn't even plan that. I had no idea. So that's like pretty mind-blowing, actually. I was like, wow, I literally finished it on the day it was out. But it was great. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars because of course I was gonna give it 5 stars. I didn't love it. I loved it, but it didn't beat Under the Whispering Door for me because Under the Whispering Door is still my favorite. But now this is my third TJ Klune book, and it just makes me so happy that I finally picked these books up because honestly, these books got me to read again because after reading This Woven Kingdom, I really did not like that series. So after picking up House of the Cerulean Sea, I like tore through it because I loved it so much. It was just so good. And so far, this is starting out to be just as good as the first one. And I know I've seen mixed reviews about this one, but I think I'm gonna love it because this one is very political, which I think is a good thing because at the very beginning, he writes a dedication to trans people, basically saying that this book is for you. And I think that's so beautiful to like have the trans representation from a very famous author, like, since and this was probably his response to what J.K. Rowling said a couple of years ago. So I love this, and I love his gay representation in every one of his books. And so far I'm just absolutely loving this. I'm in like the middle of listening to chapter 4. So I'm basically going to say that I'm on page 69 because I'm going to be finished with that chapter really soon. I'm just going to listen to it on the way to the library, and then I'll basically like be up to like page 70. So I should be able to get well over page 100 when I go read at the library. So, because it's only 2:30 right now, but I just want to go. Like, I'm not going to put makeup on because like my eyes were bothering me this morning because I did wear eye makeup last night, but I just don't feel like wearing it today because my eyes are irritating me a bit. So sometimes when that happens, I like taking a break from wearing eyeshadow. But this is so good so far. I'm loving it. Basically, this takes place a few years after the first book, and this is from more so Arthur's point of view, because Arthur is like um the inn taker. I wouldn't say the headmaster because it's not a school. He basically was the one that ran the orphanage in the first book. And Linus has to come. I'll just give you a bit of a background for the first book so I can talk about this one. Basically, Linus which is the main character in the first book. He's sent to the orphanage, and he works for the care of pretty much like what is it called? The Care of Magical Creatures. I know that's not the name because that's from Harry Potter. But basically he works for like a magical organization, which basically is like child protective services for like magical beings. It's just such a great concept. I love it. And he's being sent to this island, which is basically at the end of this, cliff, and it's like over the Cerulean Sea. Like, Linus has never really been anywhere, but then also you find out that Arthur hasn't really left the house. So then he goes to his, and I just love like them going to like their worlds and like seeing each other's worlds and like where they're from. I'm just loving it. And since Linus hasn't been anywhere, he gets sent to this school, and well, not school, the house, and basically he just falls in love with the children, even though he's sent there on assignment. He basically cares for these unusual gifted magical children, and they end up like bonding with him, and he ends up staying there. So like the second book, the book's been out for 5 years at this point. If you haven't read it, I'm sorry, but it's not really spoiling anything. So in the second book is basically taking place from Arthur's perspective, and he is like the housemaster, I'll just say that, from the first book, and he takes care of all these special children. So Arthur is called to the city with Linus because Linus is from the city and he still works for extreme upper management and the care of magical beings. I think I'll just say that. But Arthur has to appear in front of them for like a hearing, because Arthur wants to petition to adopt these children because he's still not technically their official father or like guardian. He just, takes care of them, and they're still considered like unadopted children. So like that's basically where we're at right now. And it just has he has so many beautiful messages in his books, but they're not like long-winded. They're so like to the point. And after reading, more of his books now, because I had only read Under the Whispering Door since this, so now this is my third book by him. After reading his books more and experiencing his writing style a bit more, he reminds me of Matt Haig's like fantasy magical realism, because Matt Haig is very similar to TJ Klune's writing, I feel like, but I feel like TJ Klune is a lot more well known. Even though Midnight Library is like Matt Haig's most popular book, and it's the most popular book out of all of these. It has over like 1 million ratings on Goodreads. But for some reason, nobody reads any of other Matt Haig's books, which I think his books are amazing. So I need to read more of his books. I've read 4 of his books so far, but I haven't picked up any of his books this year. But anyway, because I wanted to read more TJ Klune and like other authors that I'm working on their backlists and so on. But basically his writing reminds me of Matt Haig's magical writing and like messages of magical realism and stuff like that. And like Frederick Bachman's like straight to the point, gut-wrenching writing, and like put it together and you get TJ Klune. That's how I think, because I've only read Beartown from Frederick Bachman, and I think his books are a lot more deeper and emotional, even though Under the Whispering Door is like a 6-star read for me, and Beartown is pretty much a 6-star read for me too. Because that book is fucking fantastic, and that's still like my standout read this year besides Blood Over Brighthaven. I think those are the 2 books, and Onyx Storm. Those are like my top 3 books that I've read this year. But With this, it's just like it's just so easy to get back into the plot. And I, was figuring out whether or not I was going to go into the second book right away, but I was like, I have to. I was like, I have to finish this duology. It's just so good. So yeah, I will check back in with you guys when I'm way further into the book. I think I am going to break this into 2 parts because you guys know I can never shut up. So this one will definitely be read, obviously, and so will Us Against You. And then the third book, I'm just going to decide to, I think it's going to be a Demon Witches Guide, which I think was the one that I wanted to read next, like the most eagerly. And then I'll probably just end it there. And then the second half will probably be Next to You, When in Rome, and Swift and Saddled, which is probably what I'm going to do. So yeah, we will see. Depends on how long this is, but I think it's going to be too long. So yeah, but I'm not going to be able to post this until like the second week of April. So yeah, that's it. Bye. Okay, so hey guys, I wanted to give you guys a reading update on Somewhere Beyond the Sea by TJ Klune. I got really far. I'm on page 258, so I pretty much got like another 200 pages in. I was listening to the audiobook as well because I forgot to mention earlier that the audiobooks of these are an absolute delight to listen to. The audiobook narrator is hilarious, and the way that he does the different voices for each of the children is just hysterical. And even like for Linus and Arthur, like the way that he changes his voice is some of the best narration I've heard so far because it's so like comedic and they're just so funny. So let me give you guys a bit more of a background on what this is about. But I do think that this one is really good, but I don't think I love it as much as the first one, but I'm still enjoying it so much. But I don't think this one's going to be a 5-star. But I still really love it. It's probably going to be like a 4.5 at least. Like I would still highly recommend his books, but this would just be the first book that I'm probably not going to rate a 5-star from him. But honestly, it's not a big deal because like I said, I'm still enjoying it so much. There's so much political commentary in this one, which I'm enjoying so much, but I feel like it was done. I don't feel like it's overdone in this, but also I feel like it's a lot of, the plot to this, which again there's nothing wrong with that because, this is a book for the trans community. But there's so many other political commentaries in this, like about immigration, about, the trans community, about being different, about the gay and lesbian community, about there was another thing that they said, about religion. Like there's so much in here. And again, he does it in such a seamless way. So basically, I think I said before that the Care of Magical Youth, I finally figured out what their name was, is sending, and it like basically it was the same thing that happened in the first book where like Linus was sent to investigate the island and the house that these children were living in because like I said, it's considered an orphanage. But Arthur has pretty much raised these gifted children for most of their lives because basically if they're sent to, be adopted by, other adults, basically they would not really be accepted because they have these extraordinary magical powers. And he wants them to be accepted by society because he's also one of them as well. But also I would check some, why am I saying check your trigger warnings when you go into this because there is some mention of child abuse and that might be triggering to some people. But basically Arthur did suffer extreme physical abuse from the person that he was sent to be adopted by in this house. He suffered the abuse in this house and now he's raising these children that have nowhere else to go. And they're back in the house now. Like, he had his hearing at the Care of Magical Youth, and now they're back in the house, just still taking care of the children. And each one of the children are like kind of growing. They're getting a little bit older, but also like some of them are being are old enough to be prepared to leave the house at some point. But it's just so funny, like some of their, like, it's basically about children's hopes and dreams for themselves. And Arthur basically tells them to never stop dreaming, no matter how different you are, and to basically embrace your weirdness. And he wants to prepare them to go off into the real world. But the investigator is now being sent back to the house because to see if how these children are, because of course they were going to send somebody there to see like what their magical powers are, like firsthand. And like this one character named Lucy is probably like the funniest out of all of them. I don't know why there's something in my teeth. I like just flossed before this. Anyway, sorry. He is like they keep on calling him the Antichrist in the first book, and it makes me laugh so much because he's basically Lucifer's son, but they're like, he's not gonna grow up to be to have the same values as his father. He doesn't have to be the Antichrist. He's his own person. His name is Lucy. Like, it's so funny, but at the same time it's like it's such an extreme representation of like Christians thinking like there's an Antichrist and the devil worship and all of that. And I think it's so funny. And also there's like another kid named Chauncey, and his dream is to be a bellhop, but he has like tentacles. Like, I don't know if he's an octopus, but he's like some kind of sea creature, but I don't know how he is able to live on land. Like, I kind of wish that, even though I'm still loving these books, I wish that TJ Klune like kind of went into how these kids came to be and their magical powers. But I think at the same time, that's the beauty of these books, is the mystery behind it, that you like, and the whole like human like knowledge of not knowing something unknown. And I think he wants to keep it unknown. It's like they're just them, So I think that's the magic of his writing, is that to keep some of that mysteriousness up to the reader. But yeah, I'm enjoying it so much. And his dream is to be a bellhop, and he's like has tentacles. And what's so funny about his voice in the audiobook is that he's so like over eager to like help people with their bags if they like arrive at the house. And Arthur's like, he needs to he loves to practice. And then like when the female investigator comes to the house, he's like, may I take your bags? And she's like, no, get your tentacles off my bags. Like, it's just so funny. And then there's another one. Oh, the new kid that comes to the house. His name is David, and he's like one of the only Yetis in existence, and his voice is hysterical. He's like, yes, sir. Like, it's just so funny. And he basically, is really shy coming to the house because he wants to be accepted by everybody. And Arthur's like, everyone can't wait to meet you. You're a Yeti. You're you. Like, being a Yeti doesn't define you. And I just love like that kind of messaging in it. But also David is saying like, why can't I be a monster? That's what I am anyway. And I think that's one of the best quotes in the book. And also Arthur is like, yes, you can be a monster, but also you can be whatever you want to be, because and like Arthur actually genuinely apologizes to him for like kind of discouraging him from being a monster. And he's like, you know what, you can be whatever you want to be. It's just like heartwarming moments like that makes his writing like so easy to read. I actually stopped in the middle of a chapter because this chapter is like almost 40 pages long. So that would be my only complaint, is that the chapters are pretty long in these books. And I think that this one has even longer chapters than the first one. But they go by so quickly that you just feel like you're not even like really checking how long it is. You're just like so immersed into his writing that it like doesn't really matter. But also sometimes I want to know when it ends, because sometimes when I'm listening to the audiobook, it's like an hour-long chapter. So, but yeah, I'm really enjoying it. That's basically where we're at. She's still at the house, investigating the children, and Arthur doesn't want her there because he wants to be their father. So anyway, I think what I'm going to do for this video, like I said, is I'm just going to read 3 books in this one, and then we'll do a part 2 in April and read other books, the other 3 books that were on my list for this video. I think what I'm going to do is that I kind of want to go into a bit of a palate cleanser after I read Somewhere Beyond the Sea, because like I was saying before, I was so like indecisive as to what I wanted to read, and then I was so glad that I did go into this duology so I could check off 2 more books off my TBR this month, but also to check off another series. And also after I'm done with this, I'll be done with the duology, so I will be finishing a series. I won't be in the middle of this one anymore. But I think what I'm gonna do is that since I'm so close to finishing the next series as well by Hannah Bonham Young, I'm just gonna pick up the next book, Next to You, because then we'll also finish that series as well. And then I don't have to worry about pushing that to April, because I'm still trying to finish my March TBR. I mean, I'm 19, 20. We have 13 days. So, and I have, I believe, 5 more books that I would like to read before I read The Hunger Games. And that would be Stephen King's Billy Summers, Us Against You, which is going to be read in this video by Frederick Bachman, The Winners, which is also the 3rd book in Beartown, and I would like to finish that series as well. And then we have A Drop of Corruption, which is the ARC read that I have. And then I think the only other one would be Next to You. So those would be the 5 books that I would try and finish before we pick up, before we pick up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Actually, it would be 6 books, because there's A Drop of, well, I'm already reading Somewhere Beyond the Sea, so that doesn't count. So A Drop of Corruption, Us Against You, The Winners, Billy Summers, and Next to You. And I'm hoping to finish all of those before I get into The Hunger Games. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8 days to finish 5 books. And typically for me, I usually finish a book in 2 days. So, and Billy Summers is a chonker. But what I'm going to do with Billy Summers is, like I said, but yeah, I think I'll be able to do this. So I'm going to listen to a lot of the audiobook of Billy Summers as soon as I finish Somewhere Beyond the Sea. But I also really want to listen to the audiobook of You Killed Me first. But I might just listen to that like after we're like maybe like 60% of the way through Billy Summers. Because I feel like the best way for me to start that book is to listen to the audiobook. Because it's Stephen King. I feel like he's so intimidating to me. And I feel like once I start the audiobook of that, I'll get into the story more. But anyway, I don't know why I'm describing this in this video. So I will check back in with you guys when I finish this book. But I was also thinking about doing like a finishing my March TBR video. But I'd rather continue this video so I can post the first part like after we finish Us Against You. But I think I'm going to pick up Next to You right after I finish this. Just because I really want to read like a palate cleanser. Or we'll go into Us Against You, like, and just stick to my TBR. But if I read Next to You, then I will finish that series. And then I won't feel as pressured to, like, film this. And then we can just go into Us Against You over the weekend. And then we can hopefully read the ARC read, because I've been pushing that off for so long. Or I'll just go into The Winners to try and finish that. But I don't know if I'm going to go into Us Against You and then the winners immediately after. So I was thinking about possibly saving Next to You for in between Us Against You and the winners, because I feel like I just can't read those books back to back because they're such heavily emotional reads. And I thought I was going to feel the same about this duology, but honestly, these books didn't really make me cry like Under the Whispering Door did. Like when I read that book, I sobbed after I read it. That book was just so beautiful to me. Not that I'm not saying that these books aren't great. I don't have to cry to every single book to give it a 5 stars. Obviously, the first book was a 5 stars. So, yeah, I think that's what we're going to do, is that we're going to read those 3 books in this video. Because Next to You is not long. I think it's still like under like 300 pages. So, I might be able to finish that in like a day. Maybe we'll pick it up like this Sunday or something. I'm not really sure yet. And we'll start Us Against You right after we finish this. Because I feel like if I don't start that book, I'm just going to keep on putting it off. I don't know. I'm just like so hesitant to read it, even though Beartown was like a 6-star read for me. It's just like, I know it's going to be so emotional, but I think I need that right now. So yeah, and I really just want to read something on my Kindle because I've read a lot of my physical TBR this month. So yeah, that's it. I'm going to go and I will check in when we're finished. So bye. Okay, so hey there guys. So I just wanted to let you guys know that we did finish the first book in this video, which is Somewhere Beyond the Sea by TJ Klune. I was really close to finishing this yesterday, but I had read like over 300 pages yesterday, so I'm like, I just didn't feel like reading anymore. But also like I did listen to quite a bit of the audiobook as well, but I got up to page like 308 last night, so I decided to like rearrange one of my bookshelves, so I like listened to like another chapter while I was doing that. And then I really wanted to watch the last episode of Desperate Housewives season 6 because it left off on a cliffhanger, like I said. So I've been trying to like watch an episode of shows that I want to go back to, and that was like the one that was like on the top of my list. And it was just it's just such stupid drama, but it's so good. I love it. So anyway, I just finished this just now, so I only had like 90 pages left. And it was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. I was so close to giving this a 5-star, but I don't think it's still so good. I really, really loved this. I think I'm going to give it a 4 points. I'm so in between a 4.5 and a 5-star, but I rated it a 4 on Goodreads just because I didn't get the 5-star feeling like I did with the first book, but this is still a very, very high, like 4.5, 4.75, like around that area. Maybe I'll give it a 4.65. I think that's where I'm gonna land on, but we might think about my rating, because like with his first 2 books that I've read from him, and now this is the 3rd book that I've finished from him, which is great. I'm so glad that I finally read some more of his books, and now I've read 3 of his books, which is great. I think I already said that, but just the same thing, but a different way. But this was just so good. I'm just really tired right now, so I might not say like my full thoughts right now, but basically the lady, Miss, what is her name? Miss Marblema. Sorry if you hear my dog barking. She's barking at my mom because my mom is outside gardening, and Luna like flips out if she's not in the house with her, so she just barks at the window. She's such an idiot. But she's literally just like standing there barking at the window, staring at my mom gardening. So, her name is Miss Marblema, and she was the one that was sent to the island to investigate. Basically they just are messing with her right now and telling her that they don't want her here anymore because, you know, she's trying to basically impose on their way of life on the island, and Zoe basically banishes her and tells her to leave, even though she's like, you are under the authority of Doge. I think it's Doshi, which it's honestly really funny that it sounds so similar to Doge. There was just so many political messages in this book. There was also messages about race. And again, religion very heavily in like the last quarter. It was just so good. What the hell am I looking for? I don't even remember. But yeah, so because Zoe is, oh, what the organization is called. I think it's called Doshi or something like that. They're saying like you're under the authority of us, you can't banish me, and she's like, this is my island, and she basically allows who stays and who goes. But then of course Marble Maw comes back with like the rest of the organization, and they have to, fight for whether or not Arthur can keep the children. And it was just such a good character arc with Lucy especially, but I still feel like with Arthur, I kind of wanted a little bit more. This one was just a little bit, it was a little bit repetitive when it came to the things with Miss Marble Mom, like how much can they mess with her at this point, but it's not like it's boring. It's just like, can we just move on from this? But other than that, I freaking loved this. I still highly recommend it. If you loved the first book, I think you're going to really like the second book as well. I know some people really love and adore the first book and don't really like this book as much, but I think that this was great still, and I would still highly recommend it. So that's it. I'm not going to say any more because I don't want to spoil it, but I really, really liked this a lot. So I think the second one we're going to go into, because I did see my boyfriend earlier today, but I knew regardless if I was going to see him earlier, if I was going to see him like for dinner, this is like when I would have finished the book anyway, was like, it probably would have been right now or around like 4 o'clock. So, but now I have the rest of the night to stay home and read because I'm not going out again. I'm so tired. So I think I'm going to pick up Frederick Bachman's Us Against You. I think I finally just need to do it. I don't know why it makes me so nervous to read the rest of this series because the writing was so fantastic, but like also this is on my TBR for the month and I really should read this. I think I might try and fit in Next to You next week, or I might just read it right after I read this. So then I can just finish all the series I'm in the middle of for this half of the video, and then I'll only have the winners, which I'm going to read right after I read Next to You. Just like I said, I don't think I can read both books back to back, but I'm going to try and read the winners like as soon as possible after Next to You. And then I just have the arc read, and I have, which is A Drop of Corruption, and I have Billy Summers by Stephen King, but like I said, I might just start listening to the audiobook of that. But also the audiobook of this is available on Spotify Premium. So I'm going to read as much as I can tonight and like start it and see, I know I'm going to love it. I don't know why I keep on putting it off. So I'm just going to start this. I can't wait, honestly. I don't know why I was putting it off for so long. The first book did leave off on a cliffhanger, so I'm like dying to know what happens. So even though that was I saw like this review of this like that this was like one person's complaint of the first book, and I'm like, you do realize that it's a series. She's like, I wish that there wasn't as many loose ends with this certain character at the end of the first book. And I'm like, dude, it's a series. You're gonna find out more in the second book, and I'm sure that's why he left it off like that. Like, even though people do say that you can read it as a standalone, I want to find out more about these characters. Like, I literally can't wait. So we're just going to do that, and then I'm going to read Next to You right after that, because I think I'm going to need a mood lifter after I read the second book. So, yeah. But you know what I also realized is that I've pretty much vlogged every single book that I've read this month. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to put this vlog up until April if I wait until April to read the next book. But I'm like, I literally posted a 24-hour reading vlog of the first 5 books that I read this month. And then, what was the other one? And I also vlogged reading the arc read that I started with this month. And then I also vlogged reading the This Woven Kingdom series. The only one I didn't vlog was the first book in the House of the Cerulean Chronicles, which was House of the Cerulean Sea. So, but I already told you guys my review. So yeah, we're going to go into Us Against You, and I will check in with you guys when I've gotten like maybe like 25% into the book. So we'll see how long it takes. But since I have a lot of reading time right now, I don't think I'm going to eat dinner with my mom because I'm pretty full at the current moment. I think I'm just going to eat later. I do have pasta leftovers that I really want to eat tonight. So I might just tell her I want to eat later, but I have to make sure they're still in the fridge. So yeah, that's it. Bye. Okay, so hey there, guys. So I wanted to give you guys an update on where I'm at in the second book that I'm reading in this video, and also the second book in the Beartown trilogy, which is Us Against You. I'll just pull up the cover really quick. I just didn't pull it up yet because I just left it where I was. So yeah, so I'm reading the second book in the Beartown trilogy, which is Us Against You. And I'm on page 72. I just started it tonight because I finished Somewhere Beyond the Sea earlier, like I said. So sometimes, like, when I finish a book and then start a new book in the same day, I don't get that far into it, but I'm probably going to get up to page 100 at least. That's only 28 more pages, and that's only like 2 more chapters, so it's not like that's overwhelming. Also, I missed reading on my Kindle so much. I haven't read on my Kindle since the beginning of this month. So I am going to read the second book. But like I said before, I don't think I'm going to be able to just go into the third one unless it leaves off on such a significant cliffhanger that I have to know what happens. And I think because now I'm back in this mindset, in this world, it's a little bit easier for me to continue it. I was just putting it off because, like I said, I knew I was going to get emotional. I've already cried twice, okay? I've already cried twice. I teared up at one part, and then I just teared up at, like, the second to last chapter that I just read, and it's rough. It's rough, but his writing is just so fantastic that it hits you so hard. But I kind of like, his writing like kind of reminds me of like Kristen Hanna's writing, where it still flows so well, but it's so hard hitting, but it's fast paced at the same time. Like, I didn't want to put this down. But then me and my mom watched a movie earlier because I kind of wanted to watch something, and I was in the mood for like an action comedy, so we watched this movie called and I haven't watched an action movie in like a hot second. And I was like, I'm just craving like some stupid action comedy movie. Like, you just like are in the mood for those certain kind of movies. And I love comedy movies. So, but we're going on a tangent. But we watched this movie called The Instigators with Matt Damon and Casey Affleck. And it's on Apple TV. It was so funny. Oh my God. We had such a great time. And then me and my boyfriend did watch another episode of Severance earlier today. So, we finally watched the second episode. We've been watching it so slowly. We've been watching more of The Penguin. The Penguin is so good, you guys. Like, so good. But anyway, also, I need to watch the Beartown series, at some point. I just feel like it's gonna tear my heart out. I think that's why I've been avoiding it, because Beartown is like perfect to me. I think I already know that this is going to be another 5-star. Like, I think that this trilogy in general is just going to be a 5-star, 6-star trilogy for me, because these books are phenomenal. I think they're phenomenal books. So basically we pick up basically right where we left off from the last book. They're kind of the kids are kind of over their summer break right now, so things are a little bit easier for Maya. And if you've read the first book, you know what I'm talking about. But Maya and Anna are basically, they're like in their own little bubble right now, but like they are, obviously going to have to face the music when they come back to school in the fall. And basically the things that I'm reading about Peter and Benji specifically, and Kira, is really upsetting. Like, even though it does center mostly around Maya, like, just having all these characters' stories balanced so well again is what I love about his writing, is that you already know these characters from the first book, and it's like you can seamlessly jump back into the second book. And he kind of does like a little bit of a recap, but it's only like a paragraph, and it's like, oh, you like remember what happened already. And it's like from the character's perspective that was a witness to what happened in the first book that divided the town. So I can't really explain more without ruining it or spoiling it, but basically the town is still divided right now. The person that committed this crime basically has not faced any consequences, and also like no one really believes that he committed this crime. So the certain character is sitting in limbo on what it's actually going to happen to this person, and if whether or not he's going to pay for his crimes or not. So and basically like what Frederick Bachman shows is like how he keeps on tying in the theme of lying is easy but the truth is hard, and the way he's been writing it and explaining it has been so well written. Like I'm already highlighting everything in this. I can't really explain it too much. Let me just read the synopsis, then it'll probably be a little bit easier, but like I don't want to spoil anything, even though like who cares, nobody watches me anyway, but for anyone that does. But yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go into Next to You after this. I don't think I'm gonna be able to just jump into the third book. But so far, I'm so glad I'm back in this world already because it feels so real. It literally feels like you're reading like about a real crime committed and about real people. That's like how well written his writing is. I already have 13 highlights on Goodreads on my Kindle. So it says, after everything that the citizens of Beartown have gone through, they are struck yet another blow when they hear that their beloved local hockey team will soon be disbanded. That's basically like what the worry is in this one, is basically no one really cares about the crime that was committed besides this person's parents. They only care about whether or not hockey is going to be reinstated, because that's all this town fucking cares about is hockey. What makes it worse is the obvious satisfaction that all the former Beartown players who now play for a rival team in head take in that fact. Amidst the mounting tension between the two rivals, a surprising newcomer is handpicked to be Beartown's new hockey coach. Soon, a new team starts to take shape around Amat, the fastest player you'll ever see, Benji, the intense lone wolf, and Vidar, a born-to-be bad troublemaker. Okay, I guess Vidar is a new character. And then it says, but bringing this team together proves to be a challenge as old bonds are broken, new ones are formed, and the enmity with head grows more and more acute. As the big match approaches, the not-so-innocent pranks and incidents between the communities pile up and their mutual contempt grows deeper. By the time the last game is finally played, a resident of Beartown will be dead. That's why I wanted to read this, because I need to see who ends up being killed. And the people of both towns will be forced to wonder if, after all they've been through, the game they love can ever return to something simple and innocent, which is definitely not going to. And he also keeps on tying in the theme of winners and losers throughout the entire first two books. Like, he's already saying winners quite a lot in this. And the reason why this one is called Us Against You, which, by the way, the third book is called The Winners, and that one's probably going to be pretty rough too. But basically it's called Us Against You because it's the victim that the crime was committed to against the whole town, and also the perpetrator. So yeah, it's just so good. I honestly don't understand how you can't like these books. I understand if like you don't love it, but I don't know how somebody could read these books and not be very impacted by them, especially if you're a woman. But I think that anyone could read these books, and they are very, very hard-hitting. So yeah, I'm gonna shut up, and I'm not gonna check in again until probably like tomorrow night. I'm hoping to be at least maybe 60-70% of the way through. I'll probably get like hopefully like 25% through tonight. I also have, like I said, I have the audiobook on Spotify, and I did listen to a couple of chapters. And I really like the audiobook narrator. So I'm just gonna read up to page like 100 something tonight. And then I'll just read a little bit more before I go out tomorrow, and then I'll just listen to the audiobook then. So yeah, I'm probably going to use up a lot of my Spotify listening hours tomorrow, because the hold for the library for this is like 2 weeks. And I'm like, no, I need to find out what happens. So it's not like a huge deal if I use up my listening hours now, because I'm not really going to be using them again, because I'm just going to be borrowing all the audiobooks from the library anyway. So yeah, that's it. Bye.
Okay, so hey guys, so it's pretty late right now, but I'm like, where the fuck is my Kindle? Had to update you guys on the second book in the Beartown trilogy by Frederick Bachman, which is Us Against You. Oh my god, you guys, this book is fantastic. This man, the way that this man writes is literally some of the most amazing writing I've ever read. Like, I already know this is going to be a 5 stars. Like, we know that. So, very high rating for the first book, very high rating for the second book. It's because I'm continuing series that I love, or I'm reading authors that I love, or I know that I'm going to love their work. So, I've been wanting to get to this book for a month and a half now, and I'm so happy that I finally did. But you guys, this is rough. It's rough, but it's so well written. It's not even funny. What chapter am I actually on? I'm on chapter 38, because I actually listened to a lot of the audiobook today, because I was kind of going to be out a while today. So I'm on chapter 38, which is page 327. So I got through like at least another 200 pages since I've seen you last. So I'm 73% of the way through. I don't think I'm going to read any more tonight, though. I might read a bit more before I go to sleep, but it's like after 2 a.m. and I just want to watch an episode of Desperate Housewives, because I kind of need to take a little break from the book, but at the same time, it's so well written that like you literally can't stop. So basically, there are just so many themes throughout Frederick Bachman's writing that he ties in, that he kind of like nails it into your skull. But it's like he'll start the sentence the same way as he started it the last time that he talked about it, and it might sound like a little bit repetitive, but it's not like annoying, because like it's like, oh, we're bringing this up again. But then like when he does it, it's like on purpose. Like, there's so much political commentary in this book. It's not even funny. And there's so many political commentary about LGBTQ, about mental health, about disabilities, about like there's like zero mental health in this community, by the way. They do not believe in mental health. And I think that has affected the kids in this school greatly, especially like the hockey team, because there's like no, if you like fuck up on the team, unless you're like a drug dealer or like a criminal, that's not, what the crime, unless you committed the crime that was committed in the first book, which he got away with it because his father was very powerful. You're either just gonna be sent to jail, or you're gonna play hockey for the rest of your life. But basically, in this second book, the hockey team or the hockey league has been like disbanded because of what happened to the hockey coach. They like didn't want him to be the hockey coach anymore, and pretty much like hockey is his life, which is Peter. And Peter's like one of the main characters. And basically, like, after it was disbanded, like, it was like the school was, in chaos. And also what was I gonna say, they there's this new character in this book. He actually introduced like one new character, but also he was concentrating more so on like other side characters that were in the first book, but they weren't really the main characters of the first book. And now he's like concentrating on some of them more, like Maya's brother Leo and Ramona, which is like I think it's Benji's mother. I'm pretty sure she's Benji's mother. I can't remember. Um that's probably wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. But basically there's like just so many tie-ins to like I'm gonna forget everything I want to say because there's just so many tie-ins to themes. And like when he talks about politics, he basically says like politics are easy, like basically saying that politics are the same thing as saying like what I was saying before, where lying is easy but the truth is hard. And like politicians, they lie about fucking everything. And it's like I've been reading a lot of relatable books to what's been going on currently in our political climate, like Somewhere Beyond the Sea, extremely political and all about the LGBTQ community and the trans community. And the same thing with Beartown, especially in the second book. Like the first book was already political, but like the second book, and he like constantly ties in the theme of politics, but also the whole us against you theme. It's not just the town or like the hockey team again, like basically it's not just the hockey team against another team. It's like so many different ways that he ties that term in, and he repeats it throughout the whole book, but with like different characters. Like us against you meaning like one team player says that he's gay, that means it's him against them. He doesn't really have anybody except for like one person because she's gay too. Um and then there was one part with him that just wrecked me, absolutely wrecked me. I ended up crying again. I cried a lot. So I think I've actually cried more in the second book than I have in the first one because I know these characters so well at this point, and I haven't really read anything that has like really emotionally impacted me this much this month. I might have only read like maybe one other book that has made me cry this month. I haven't really read books that have really made me cry this month, so I think that's why. Because when I read Beartown in February, I read some pretty emotionally destroying books in January, which was like Blood Over Bright Haven, which you guys know that book absolutely destroyed me. I read The Nightingale in January, destroyed me. And I read Onyx Storm. All those books destroyed me. So like with Beartown, even though it was really sad, I think I felt the same way that Lottie Smalley did with reading Beartown, as she did reading The Nightingale, because she read both of them in like one reading vlog, and I read The Nightingale and Beartown like pretty close together. And I cried my eyes out with Nightingale, but with The Bear, I just felt numb after I read it. But it was so beautifully written, and it was such an amazing book. So I kind of feel the same about this one. I think this one's gonna be a five. This one, it's gonna be a 5-star, because this man's writing is just phenomenal. So the way he ties in us against you, but also ties in the theme of bear, just saying the word bear throughout the whole book, like bare chest, bare skin. Even there's even been like a bear in the woods finally, because there wasn't really a bear in the first book, but and also like the bear skin like group that's in the bar. Like it's just so well done the way that he ties that theme together. And there's also one more theme that I've been noticing throughout the majority of the book, but also they said like somebody is going to end up dead, like it says it in the synopsis, but also like in the chapter that I had read like a couple of chapters ago, it said like this, it was saying like these characters like didn't know this person was dead, and you thought that they were gonna be killed or die in that chapter, but they didn't. but he kind of insinuated it was going to be them, but also they ended up not doing it, and that's why that made me cry. But also, there's a theme throughout the whole book about like a burning fire and like lighting matches and cigarettes and like basically like it concentrates a lot on Maya's younger brother Leo. He's 12 years old and he starts smoking cigarettes. Okay, because he feels like nobody is paying attention to him anymore because of what happened to Maya. And I'm just gonna say that. I'm not gonna say anything else because it's gonna be a huge spoiler. So he feels like he needs to like occupy his time. Like even him and Maya aren't really spending time together anymore, and they used to spend time together like all the time. And he's always talking about like fire and burning fire and stuff. And then like there's other characters that are talking about burning fires, and there's also like a Beartown jersey was burned in one of the chapters. So there's always about something about fire, and I'm thinking that like one of the characters is going to end up dying, being burned in a fire or some type of like burning, maybe like in their house. I don't know. But I feel like that's a recurring theme for a reason, because I know he's doing it for a reason. So I only really have like a little bit over 100 pages left. So I'm definitely going to finish it tomorrow. And I'm probably just going to read the rest of it physically. And then I think I'm going to have to go into Next to You after this. Which is so funny how I went into Us Against You into Next to You. And then I think I'm going to be going into another book in this video that you guys will see later, because I decided to not read The Hunger Games this month. I know, but I'd rather finish my my prompts and my whole TBR besides The Hunger Games, and I'm really excited to read these two books. So I will tell you guys what book that is tomorrow after I finish Us Against You. So bye.
Okay, so hey there guys. I wanted to give you guys my final thoughts on the second book in the Beartown trilogy, which was Us Against You by Frederick Bachman. I finished it earlier today. I got through, like I said, like 200 pages of it yesterday. And then today I read like 70 pages on my Kindle, and then I just finished the audiobook while I was getting ready. And what was so funny is that I literally finished it pretty much right when I was done getting ready. And also I had just finished the book, just running out of my Spotify listening hours. Like I was just on the last chapter, and as soon as I finished the chapter, it was like, hey, you're out of Spotify listening hours. I'm like, great, because I'm just going to be listening to audiobooks from the library anyway. So, yeah, it was amazing. 5 stars. Obviously, it was 5 stars. I mean, these books are phenomenal, but I definitely needed to take another break after reading the second one, but it was so good. Tensions were so high in this one, but we definitely found out more about each of the characters that we got to know in the first book. And someone did end up being killed. It was actually the person that I least expected it to be. And it wasn't a burning building. It was something completely different. I'm not going to say what. You'll find out when you get to the chapter. You'll find out how and what it is that kills them. But I kind of figured out it was going to be one of these two characters. But also, I didn't figure it out until like halfway through that chapter. And then they kept on talking about like if they grew older together. Then I was like, oh God, it's probably going to be one of them. And it was. So that's all I'm going to say. That's not really giving away anything until you read it. But yeah, it was sad, but I actually ended up not crying because it ended up being the person that I least expected it to be. And thank God it wasn't like a younger kid. Like it was still like a kid, but he was like a bit older. And also you find out it's a guy like really, in the middle of the book, because like I said, he keeps on hinting that it's going to be a guy. You just don't know which one it is. But I kept on thinking it was going to be somebody's younger son. So yeah, it was so good. He always ties in the political themes, the mental health, like I said, is non-existent in this town. And basically, they played their game and they ended up losing. And you pretty much knew they were going to end up losing anyway because there was kind of no way that they could come back to win. But I just love the way that he balances his characters. And then after that, tensions were really high between the two teams. And then also somebody loses their mother in the town, and the two towns end up being like respectful for to each other for just that one game. And you do see, regardless of their toxicity in this town, there was a form of unity in this, even though he was still keeping up the theme of still us against you with literally everything, like with a certain character and his sexuality, Maya against everybody else, certain, and Peter against everybody else, Kira against everybody else. Like there's Leo against everybody else. Like he constantly keeps that theme throughout the entire book, and also with pretty much every single character, because the only way that these characters in these books have an identity is whether or not they're part of something. Like none of them really have their own individuality. And he keeps on keeping up the theme in this book of, hockey is great, or hockey is simple, politics are hard. Or they say it's just hockey, what can happen? But then it can get so violent because it's not just the people on the team that are, but it's also their parents, it's the town, it's everything, it's and then they say, hockey is in politics. And I'm like, yeah, it is. And then it's also even tying in the whole theme of books aren't political. No, books are extremely political. This book was extremely political, but also I needed to take a break from the political reads right now because I had just read House of the Cerulean Sea and Somewhere Beyond the Sea, and then I just read Us Against You, and they were both very political. So I'm like, I just need a fluffy little rom-com. So like I said, I was going to go into Next to You by Hannah Bonham Young. So this is the second book in the next series. So once I finish this one, I will have completed both of them. So I will be completing yet another series in this video, and I will be completing another one, hopefully, when I tell you guys the last book I'm going to read for this video. But I'm on page 109. I actually started the audiobook today because I didn't have any time to start it physically, because after I finished the last 2 chapters of the audiobook of Us Against You, I just started listening to this from my Libby app because I just borrowed it from the library. And yeah, I got through the first 10 chapters going back and forth to Queens. So I got through the first 100 pages. And so far, I'm actually really enjoying this one way more than the first one. The first one was very insta-lovey. This one is about, I think one of, what is her name? The main character's and the main female character's best friend, and also the main male character's friend, I think, as well. I think I said that when I picked this book up. I don't even remember. But basically, she's in the middle of I'm just going to read the synopsis. Lane is in the middle of an identity crisis. Her friends are all partnered up. Her career is heading nowhere. And simply put, she's not happy. So after a night out celebrating her birthday, she makes one hell of an impulsive purchase. A giant 48-passenger yellow school bus that she intends to make her home. With little to no renovation experience, but money from a large inheritance. You know what's so funny? Hold on. So me and my friend's husband were talking earlier, because I'm friends with him too. So I went to go see my friend and her husband in Queens. And he was literally talking about taking a trip on a school bus and buying a school bus because he wants to buy a school bus rather than an RV and live that way and travel the US. And he was like, I want to make that happen at some point. And that's literally what she did in the book. And I literally did not realize that What are the odds of me picking up this book and then he talks about buying a bus? I don't know. That's just weird, right? The fuck? So anyway, so it says with little to no renovation experience but money from a large inheritance, Lane enlists the help of her friend Matt, a mechanic by trade, handyman by practice, and hottie by nature. So stupid. While their mutual attraction is undeniable, Matt and Lane have silently agreed that friendship is the only thing that can ever exist between them. Matt's a total family guy with settled down with me virtually tattooed across his head, across his forehead. I said it crossed. Whereas Lane is entirely commitment averse. It could never work, right? So basically, she is kind of agoraphobic too. She takes like this certain medication so she can leave the house, but like she doesn't like leaving the house that often. Um, but like she's been really, really funny, and there's been really funny banter moments between the two of them, and Matt's really funny too. So it's just cute. This one's really cute. It's not there was like a couple of cringe moments, but honestly nothing too bad. Definitely way less cringe than the first one. The first one, like, I don't know. This one I can tell that her writing style changed to like what it is now in like Out on a Limb or Out of the Woods, because this one is like her witty humor. That's happened in Next to You so far is it's just like a cute fluffy romance. Honestly, there's not much to update on. It's just like been funny, and you know, she's been stuck with Matt in a couple of situations, and her thoughts that she's been thinking about him is she's like, "Oh, he's hot, but no, I can't do that. What are you thinking? Like that's not you." It's just really cute. So, I'm excited to see where it goes. So, bye. Okay, so hey guys, so I wanted to let you guys know that I already finished Next to You by Hannah Bonham Young. I figured it was only going to take me a day to finish this anyway, but I finished this really fast. Like I said, I started the audiobook yesterday when I was driving to Queens, and I literally just finished it now. I finished it mostly physically, because I read like 40 pages last night, and then I read like another like 15 pages before I went to sleep. So I read like 55 pages of it physically yesterday, but then I also had read like 70 pages of Us Against You. And then I mostly read this physically today from like 215 to like page 215 to like page 260, 270. And then I listened to like 2 chapters of it while I was doing laundry, and then I just read the rest of it physically. So I probably read maybe like over 100 and something pages of it. I think I read like 100 pages of it today, and then I read like 50 pages of it yesterday. So I mostly listened to half and half again. And I listened to half and read half. Anyway, I really liked this one compared to the first one. I'm giving this a 4 stars. I really thought it was going to be like a 3.75, but I actually really enjoyed this one. This one was really funny. I think I liked the second half of the book more than the first one because we got more background about Matt's family and then her family as well, and like basically this was about they were friends first, and then they kind of became like friends with benefits. They didn't really put a label on it, but then everybody was already saying like you guys are dating. But honestly, they never went out on one date in this book. They were pretty much just dating because, and I thought that was kind of cute because they never officially went out like to dinner or like on a real date. They would just like, hang out with each other and spend time with each other. And I think that's like one of the cutest things in this book is that they just genuinely wanted to spend time together because they were already friends. So basically in the second half of the book, she has to go to like this wedding and she wants to bring him as her wedding date. So they go and it's like her sister's wedding and her sister's marrying like this older man and her and her sister kind of have a very harsh relationship. Like their humor is pretty dark, but also they can be pretty mean to each other. But that's how sisters are. Like that's how me and my sister are too. So they go to this wedding and she ends up not wanting to marry him and it kind of reminded me of reading like Wedding People. It's very similar, but like, not as dark as Wedding People, but basically they stop the wedding and he is like their getaway car and they go they drive away and basically her mother is there obviously um and her mother gets like drunk at this like basically like the rehearsal dinner and they have to like get her out of the wedding. It was so funny. And then they all leave and obviously her sister's a mess and her sister asks if she can stay with her mother and then she ends up staying and like tells Matt that I need some time and basically he leaves and goes and stays with his family again. um so basically, they're both staying with family right now, and they end up being away from each other for like 3 months. And I didn't realize it was that much time that they were away from each other. But she needs some time, and she needs her mother, and she needs to like reconcile with her mother and her sister. And but then she realizes that she loves him, and she goes back to him, and that's pretty much what happens. But then she proposes to him. I'm not really giving much away. Like, how much can I spoil in a romance, to be honest? But I feel like with Hannah Bonham Young, she's very quick to have the couple, like, marry and get engaged. Like, I feel like that the same thing happened in Next of Kin, obviously, and the same thing happened in Out on a Limb. Out of the Woods was, like, the first one where, like, the couple was already married because it was, um the two main characters' best friends that it was concentrating on in that second book. And that's basically what this book was doing too, is that it was Chloe and Warren's best friends pretty much. But it was cute. I really enjoyed it. There was again some cringe moments and I was like, what, all of a sudden they're getting married? But I was like, oh, I didn't realize it was like a 3 month time period. The only thing that I wish that she would have given us a little bit more closure about is that in Next of Kin, at least she said like what Chloe ended up doing with her life. Um, what's her name? Lane doesn't really have like a job or like a career or anything, which is fine, but also like you would think she would be doing something like on the road, like with like an online business or something like that. But she never really like says like what she ends up doing, and pretty much that was most of what this book was about, was Lane finding herself and finding what she was good at. And I'm not saying that like every person has to have a career in order to be happy. Like clearly she had some money, but also it's like, well, then she ended up just falling in love with Matt, which is obviously what she really wanted anyway, but also like it kind of makes it like, oh, she needs a guy in order to be happy. That's kind of how I felt a little bit, but it was still really funny and it was still really fun. And I thought that this was better than the first one, like way better than the first one. But also, there were some cringe moments, but also it was never boring. Like, I actually had a really good time with this, but there were a couple of times where I was like, where is this going, after he had already said he loved her, but she didn't say it back to him because obviously she was still figuring out how she was feeling. It did not feel as insta-lovey as the first one. The first one was like pretty fast where they were like, I love you so much already, and then it was only like 120 pages into the book. But Granted, the book is shorter than this one. This one is longer than Out of the Woods. Like Out on a Limb is longer than the second one. And I actually feel like the second one should have been longer. I feel like this was kind of the perfect length for a sequel, but this was really good. I really enjoyed it. So I gave it a 4 stars. And I am not going to go into Rule of Wolves right now because obviously I have to read King of Scars first. But I'm actually going to finish the Beartown series now. I know I was like, well, I need a break, but apparently I only needed a day because I'm going to start listening to the audiobook while I get ready for work because I have to get ready for work now. But I figured I would just start the audiobook while I was getting ready. I thought I was going to have to be finishing up this, but then I already finished it. So, like, I thought I was going to have to listen to the audiobook finishing this. But I was like, I might as well start the winners because I have to finish that series too. And I don't want that to be lingering the last week of the month. So I'm going to finish the winners first. And that will probably be done by honestly, tomorrow night. We'll see. But I'm not really doing anything tomorrow. I'm mostly going to be listening to the audiobook and like cleaning and applying to jobs and stuff. So I probably will be able to finish it. So, and then I think I'm going to go into Billy Summers after that, or A Drop of Corruption, because I do have to start the audiobook of Billy Summers, but I probably will start that on like Monday or something. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for now. Hopefully I'll be able to finish A Drop of Corruption and then King of Scars and Rule of Wolves. I'll definitely finish A Drop of Corruption, but after that, I'm not really sure. I still need at least 5 days to finish King of Scars and Rule of Wolves. But like I said, if I don't finish Rule of Wolves, as long as I'm like halfway through it, that's fine. Because then I can just finish it and read it until I pick up Say You'll Remember Me. Because I'm going to need something to read till I pick up Abby Jimenez's new book. So yeah, I will check in with you guys when I start Rule of Wolves. But that probably won't be till like another week maybe. So yeah, that's it. Bye.
Okay, so hey there guys. So I'm deciding to call this video here. We ended up reading 3 really good books that were continuing series. We read Somewhere Beyond the Sea. We read the second book in the Beartown trilogy, which was Us Against You. And we read Next to You by Hannah Bonham Young. I'm deciding to end the video here rather than reading King of Scars and Rule of Wolves because I have decided that I don't really have that much time to read King of Scars and Rule of Wolves, and also I'm probably just going to read those in my own spare time when I'm able to get to them because I don't think I'm going to be able to read them the end of this month. Also, I ended up finishing the Beartown trilogy after this. I probably could have included the winners in this and then that would have been 4 books, but I'm not going to be upset for only including 3 books in this video. I just decided that I just don't have enough time for the rest of the month, and also I kind of just wanted to mood read this week, and also since finishing the winners, I think I need a break from series right now, unless they're like a romance series, because like romance series just aren't, it's like different than reading like a fantasy series or something like that. So I just feel like, a lot more pressure for like a fantasy series. So I need to keep my voice down because everybody's sleeping. It's like 1:25 in the morning. So after I finished the winners, though, I was literally devastated. I cried for so much of the last like 40 pages of the book, and then I just cried after it was done that I'm like, I had a feeling I was going to slump out if I didn't pick up something that was either the complete opposite or something that I was just really in the mood to read. So I ended up not picking up anything that was on my TBR this month. I ended up picking up an Allie Hazelwood book, which was Not in Love. I actually was intending on reading that in April, but I actually already finished that book. I finished it earlier today, and it was really, really good. So, like, I just didn't want to feel a pressure of, like, trying to read King of Scars and Rule of Wolves after Beartown, because I felt like I was going to be forcing myself to complete my TBR, and, like, sometimes, like I said, in the beginning of the month and at the end of the month, I get like a little reading slumpy, and it's like I don't want to pick up books unless I'm in the mood for them. And it's not like I didn't complete like a lot of my TBR this month. Like I'm still pretty proud of like completing. I read 4 series this month still. I read the Beartown trilogy. Well, I've read books 2 and 3. I finished the next series, which was just Next of Kin and Next to You. I finished the Cerulean Chronicles, which was also 2 books, and I read the Diswoven Kingdom series. So I still read 4 series this month. Um, and I think I'm just gonna, because there's quite a few books that are on my April TBR that will be continuing series I'm in the middle of, like The Bullet That Missed, A Demon Witch's Guide, well, A Demon's Guide to Wooing a Witch, and I also want to finish that series in April, so I'm just gonna read both books to finish that series because I'm dying to finish it. And then When in Rome, and then Swift and Saddled. So they're mostly, like I said, gonna be romance series that I'm in the middle of. So, because like I said, for me, unless I have time to complete a series, I know that King of Scars and Rule of Wolves is just a duology, but like overall, it's 1,000 pages. Like both books are like 500 and something pages. Like they're long. So, um, I think I'm just gonna try and see if I can read them in April, but if I can't, it's not the end of the world. Because, like, I honestly just felt like reading um, new releases and mood reads this weekend. So, and the rest of the week. So, I'm actually gonna be picking up Night Weaver by R.M. Gray, and this is a new release. It's like a YA pirate. It just sounds like such a fun time. It's, I think it's pirates. Maybe it's not. I think it's pirates and something else, but it's elemental magic, forbidden romance, and breathtaking twists. I just need a romantasy right now, and I feel like I need like a YA romantasy that I'm probably going to like because like I said, it's just so pretty though, right? So, and also this is a new release. This came out March 4th, so I really want to read it. And I felt like when I did that last month, like at the end of February, because remember how I said again in March, I wasn't sure if I was going to get 2 new releases this month and the same thing last month. I stuck to, again, a lot of my TBR this month, and the only new release I ended up reading was Scorpion the Night Blossom. And now I just picked up the ARC read again that I need to read before it comes out. It would be nice if my Kindle was facing up. So I really want to read Night Weaver, and I want to read Summer in the City by Alex Astor, which just came out yesterday. So I really want to read that too. And I was just going to end the month with that because I felt like it wasn't as pressured. It's less pages to read, and I feel like I could finish those 3 books, before the month is over. Because, like, I just felt like King of Scars, Rule of Wolves, and Billy Summers was a lot. And also, like, I have quite a few plans this week. Also, it's my boyfriend's birthday tomorrow, so I'm not going to really be able to read as much. But I was planning on picking up the ARC read anyway for his birthday. Whatever, you don't care. So I just wanted to update you guys and let you guys know that I'm not going to be reading Rule of Wolves in this video. I'm just going to cut that clip anyway of me saying I was going to read it. Because, like, there are some, like, April's, like, kind of like my palate cleanser month, where I'm just reading, like, romance reads, because I feel like the spring, like I said, is, like, the season of romance, so, like, I always want to read a lot of romances by then. And I still got to 3 books on my 25 and 2025, I believe, in March, which was This Woven Kingdom, House of the Cerulean Sea, and I forget what the other one was. I don't know why I'm blanking, but I did finish the Beartown trilogy, and I felt like after that, I just did not want to pick up another series, and also I didn't even want to pick up the ARC read, so I picked up Not in Love, and I finished that in a day and a half. The thing I know about romance books, especially if I have the audiobook as well, I'm going to finish them in a day and a half. It takes me, like, no time. So yeah. Recap on the books that I read in this video. I loved all 3 books that I read in this video. Honestly, this was a really successful reading week, and 2 of the books were 5-star reads. So that's incredible. So number 3 was definitely Next to You by Hannah Bonham Young. I still really enjoyed it, and I'm so happy that I read it as a little palate cleanser between Us Against You and the winners. But like, I felt that I should have spread out the winners a little bit more. I don't know why I decided to go through that pain literally in like 5 days. Now I kind of understand why people spread out that series, because honestly, they are tough reads. But anyway, Next to You was just so much fun. It was so funny. So I gave that a 4 stars, or was it a 4.25? I think it was just a 4 stars. I still really enjoyed it. And then number 2 was House of the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. I still gave it a 5 stars. I adored that. Wait, no. Oh my god. Not House of the Cerulean Sea. Scratch that. It is not both. 2 books were not 5 stars. Only 1. But Somewhere Beyond the Sea by TJ Klune is number 2. I think I gave it a 4.5. Let me pull up my Goodreads really quick. I don't know why I'm fucking blanking. Sometimes I blank on like the ones that are like rounded up a little bit more on like what my exact rating was. I think it was a 4.5. I really, really adored that book. Yeah, 4.5. I loved it. It was just so good. And Next to You, I think it was just a 4 star. Yeah, I didn't round it up. I was also pretty high when I wrote that review. And then Us Against You is obviously number 1, and I'm rounding it up to a 6 stars because the entire trilogy for me is a 6-star trilogy, and each book is 6 stars. So, spoiler alert on my rating for the winners, but I absolutely loved that series with my whole heart. I think this has been my favorite series where you grow so much with the characters and you become so attached to them that it's like a series that you just could read forever. Like, I don't think I've had this feeling since I read Boys of Tommen. And you know, I love ACOTAR. I love Fourth Wing. Fourth Wing I could read forever. So basically, like, the only series plural that I have rated 5 stars, all of the books in the series 5 stars, is Boys of Tommen, Fourth Wing, and, well, it's called the Empyrean series, and Beartown. But the Beartown trilogy is 6 stars for each book, because they're incredible. So I guess it's my favorite series of all time. It's just incredible. I love it so much. These books are going to stick with me for forever. It's like the way that Frederick Bachman is a magician with his writing. I just describe him as a magician because literally he's like the female Chloe Walsh, where like he can rip your heart out 1 second and then the next second you're laughing hysterically. But the way that you grow with these characters with each book is, I literally felt like I was reading about so many real people, but the way, like I said, the way that Frederick Bachman integrates characters and the way he introduces them, and the fact that you like, there's so many characters in these books, but also he keeps like the main characters very constant throughout the whole book. It's not like The God of the Woods where like it switched perspectives every chapter, and even though it was only a chapter ago, I forgot that we were waiting for the twist at the end of that chapter, and then it switched to another perspective, and then I went back to that one, and then I was like, oh right, I forgot that we were reading about this person. I never felt like that reading the entirety of Beartown. I was like, because he puts it in the same chapter, it's just very short passages, but they're so to the point. And, you know, they have said before that Frederick Bachman is so perfect for people with ADHD, and I 100% agree, but I even sent it to my boyfriend. He doesn't have ADHD, and he was like, this is very well written. I'm like, I know, it's fantastic. So yeah, absolutely loved it. And again, I probably should have just included the winners in this, but I wanted to include like different books. But I'm just going to include them in the next video. So I think it's going to be Swift and Saddled, When in Rome,
Why am I blanking? The Bullet That Missed and A Demon Witch's Guide. A Demon's Guide to Wooing a Witch. So I think it's going to be those 4 books. So 3 and 4, that's pretty good. And like I said, I was going to read most of them in April. So the fact I read 3 in this video, that's still pretty good. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe. Follow me on my Instagram at CW819 and check out my Poshmark at the same handle. I'm pretty fucking exhausted. I really have been sleeping like shit. Just, my health is not that great. I think, I just need to take better care of myself. So yeah. There's still like a shit ton I have to do, but like again, I have like 10 million plans. I'm finally getting a haircut on Friday. My hair is just it's just way too long again. The last time I got a haircut was in December. And I feel like for me, if I wait 3 months, it's just too long. So my mom gets a haircut every 10 weeks. So, but yeah, finally made a haircut appointment. So thank God I can get my haircut on Friday because I need to chop this hair off, probably like this much at least. And yeah, but I still have plans tomorrow because it's my boyfriend's birthday. So, let me know your guys' thoughts on these books and whether or not you have read them. I really would like to know. If you want to be emotionally devastated, read Beartown. But I think, like I said, that's why I put off reading the second and third books for so long, because I hadn't read Beartown. And Beartown, again, was my first book from Frederick Bachman. I read it at the beginning of February, and that was the first book I finished in February. And then I was putting it off like all through March because I'm like, I don't know if I want to go through that pain again. And then it becomes my favorite series of all time. So, but like I said, I felt like after I finished that series, unless it's continuing a series I've already started, but again, most of those books are on my April TBR anyway. I didn't really want to start a new series that's like, heavy fantasy. And again, I might just listen to the audiobook of King of Scars like later in April because I paid for it on Audible. Even though I canceled Audible, I don't have to worry about it expiring for a Libby loan. I can just listen to it whenever I want to. So yeah, that is pretty much it. There's just a never-ending amount of books to read, but honestly, I'm feeling pretty good about my TBR right now. I'm actually getting through a lot of books I've been wanting to read. But I feel like and I really do regret not doing a new releases vlog in February. I don't know why I didn't do that because I ended up reading The Rose Bargain, Deep End. I can't remember what the other one was. First Time Caller, and I can't remember what the other one was. And I read them all at the end of February. Oh, I also ended up listening to the audiobook of Beautiful Ugly, but I should have just made and Rebel Witch. And those were all new releases for February. Beautiful Ugly was a January release, but that book was so fucking good. But anyway, I should have made a vlog for that. I don't think I'm going to vlog reading new releases for this week because, again, it's going to be Night Weaver, Summer in the City. And I think I'm going to listen to the audiobook of You Killed Me First. I just need, like, palate cleanser reads or, like, a YA romantasy is just way more I mean, even though King of Scars and Rule of Wolves are fast-paced romantasies, I just get nervous at the end of the month to finish longer books. I should have picked them up earlier in the month, honestly. I should have picked them up over This Woven Kingdom because I probably would have loved it way more because I really did not like that series, but you live and you learn, all right? We're not going to read the greatest books of all time, but honestly, I've had a really good reading year. I haven't really rated too many books under 3 stars besides The Crash, and honestly, I'm thinking about lowering my rating for Four Ruined Realms as well because that book was not good. I feel like there was one other book that I rated 2 stars. Why am I rambling? This clip is so fucking long. I really don't think... Yeah, there's no other books that I rated 2 stars besides The Crash. So I've been having a really, really good reading year. Even though when I read books that are only okay, I usually give them a 3 stars. So, yeah. It's been pretty good. So, yeah, that's it. Bye.